Chapter 35, Serafina smiled faintly. She had already sent a copy to Vivian. Did Lily really think that as long as she stole the phone, she could get rid of all the evidence? But why did she look everywhere but couldn't find Vivian's figure? Theodore saw her strange expression, her anxious look, and asked, "What's wrong?" She thought very quickly. Even if she said the phone was dropped now, and bothered everyone at the Ashford family to look for it, they definitely wouldn't find it. Saying that Lily stole? Miss Harper stole the cell phone? Saying that, no one would believe it. If they were to confront each other, Lily would definitely pretend to be pitiful and cry, attracting everyone to watch. Zhang Ming had already left, and Jia couldn't say that she had arranged everything. Making a fuss, even if she was right, in the eyes of others, she was just a sour woman acting. She was just afraid that her going to look for the phone would be more in line with Lily's wishes, causing her to be bitten back. But most importantly, her younger brother's mind was simple. He couldn't think of such complicated reasons. When Lily was crying and heartbroken, she was afraid that he would be suspicious, wondering if she was deliberately making things difficult for Lily. Recently, the two of them had worked hard to trust each other again. She didn't want Lily to interfere. After all, the video was already in Vivian's phone. "It's okay." She pulled him. "Go tell Mom, let's go." They had just turned around when they heard a gentle and intimate female voice from behind. "Theodore. Lily shamelessly stole her phone, and she ran here so quickly?" Serafina glanced at her younger brother. He looked very calm and expressionless at first glance, but she realized that he was guarding her feelings. Not only Lily, but Megan also came along. As soon as Megan saw Theodore, a smile immediately appeared on her face. "Is this Theodore? You look so handsome. I often hear Lily mention you. All these years, it's thanks to you taking care of her as your older sister." Serafina stood by the side and coldly observed. This scene was similar to when she first entered the Beaumont family. This mother and daughter were both experts at isolating her. But this time it was different. Theodore didn't react or reply. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he looked a little uncomfortable. Megan finished speaking with a smile, only to find that not only did he not politely reply, he didn't even bother to greet her. His expression was extremely gloomy. Her heart dropped again. How could this be? Could it be that even Lily's younger brother looked down on the elders like her? Today's high-class introduction was truly a failure. Megan smiled awkwardly, looking at Lily, wanting to dispel her embarrassment. "Lily, your younger brother is afraid of strangers and doesn't like to talk?" Lily also found it strange. Just as she was about to ask, he gently said, "I just don't like to talk to you." The air fell into the ice hole again. Megan lost face even more, embarrassed to the point of wanting to bury herself. Lily was extremely surprised, not understanding why he was making things difficult for her mother like this. For a moment she even used the role of older sister that she thought she had, and said as if advising, "Theodore, have you forgotten your manners again?" After hearing what she said, the space between his brows immediately furrowed, his voice filled with undisguised anger. "She abused Serafina for 18 years, I don't need to be polite to someone like that." Lily was startled. Even Serafina standing next to her was surprised. Wow, this little brat knows how to vent his anger on his sister's behalf today? Lily secretly glared at Serafina, pursed her lips, and forced a smile. "Theodore, there are some things I've heard from my mother before. It's a misunderstanding, not like what Serafina said." "Of course I trust my sister more than your mother," he interrupted her. Lily's legs went weak, unable to stand. "My mother? Your sister?" He drew such a clear line. When did this image come into his mind? Since when was she pushed out of his family world, and Serafina brought in? Lily's face was pale, almost tearful. "I'm also very troubled. My family and the environment around me have changed so much, I still can't adapt." "And you don't want to accept this sister anymore?" He was cold and silent. Right now, he just hated Megan. Lily was between them. Although she was very innocent and pitiful, she gradually made him feel uncomfortable, and very tired. The people were still confused, until suddenly a scolding voice filled with indignation rang out in the hall. "Bitch." This curse and the atmosphere today were very incompatible. Everyone looked at the same time, only to see Emily wearing black mourning clothes. Her vicious eyes were directed at the place where Serafina and the others were standing. She even had a white bow tied on her head. Megan almost fainted. Today was her birthday, wasn't this cursing her? The story goes, Emily had just received a phone call, only to find out that her brother had lost his right arm, and the reason he fell into this miserable state was all because of Lily. That bitch Lily called her brother to come back from Macau, and on the other hand, she informed Harrison Lancaster that Alex Martin had returned to Beijing. Her brother had long since returned to Macau. Emily didn't believe it, but someone sent a picture of his hospital's extremely miserable diagnosis. She was shocked, quickly called her brother's henchman to ask, and found out that something really happened. It was just that he had lied to her. She remembered the time she met Serafina at the hospital. Of course she was even more certain that it was Lily's trick. But Lily didn't know anything. Seeing Emily's face twisted and glaring at her, she thought she was looking for Serafina. After all, the relationship between her and Emily wasn't that bad. Lily was overjoyed, full of excitement, preparing to watch the fun. Emily had just finished scolding when she rushed over. Theodore was stunned, and instinctively ran to Serafina, shielding her from behind. Just as he wanted to yell at Emily and ask what she was making a fuss about, Emily had already passed by. Lily and Megan saw Theodore shielding Serafina, thinking that something good was about to happen. By the time they both realized that the situation was not good, it was too late. Lily, you shameless, despicable bitch. Emily stepped forward, swung her hand, and fiercely slapped Lily straight in the face. A cruel and clear slap sound echoed throughout the hall. For a moment, everyone fell silent, all looking in this direction in shock. Lily's cheeks were marked with 5 red finger marks, almost bleeding. Emily used all her strength to hit Lily. She was beaten until she was stunned, before she could react. Bitch! Emily slapped her again fiercely. On Lily's face were 2 overlapping finger marks, bright red as blood. Immediately, her cheeks were swollen. Even Serafina felt her face stiffen in pain when she looked at it, secretly sighing that Emily was indeed brave, hitting so hard. But Emily still hadn't beaten enough. She cursed and raised her hand again. Megan stood by the side watching her precious daughter being beaten and cursed, slapped a couple times. Instantly her eyes turned red. How could she remember that this was her birthday party? The moment Emily raised her hand, Megan grabbed her, fiercely slapping her back. Emily was dazzled. All her life, she relied on her family's money. Her brother was a gangster. Except for pretending to be a lady in front of her brother, she would act recklessly wherever she went. In all her life, no one had dared to touch a finger of hers. Today, a despicable woman who depended on a rich family like Megan dared to hit her? You dare hit me? She was furious. Her eyes seemed to be shooting bullets at Megan. She was already unconcerned with manners, but she didn't expect Megan, who was more than 20 years older than her, to attack. She screamed, "You're also a bitch," and then rushed over to hit Megan in the face. Megan dodged the blow, but Emily desperately pulled at her elegantly and regal bun, making it messy. Megan had never suffered such humiliation before. Although she had been acting noble for the past half-year, she was still a person who refused to be outdone. When someone else hit her, she only had one thought in her mind, and that was to hit back hundreds and thousands of times. Unlike Lily, although she hated Emily so much that she wanted to stab her to death with a knife, she could only cover her face and cry helplessly. Because she understood very well that as long as she pretended to be the victim and didn't react in the slightest, in the eyes of the people around, the only shrewish woman was Emily, and she, on the contrary, received sympathy. Unfortunately, her mother did not understand this principle. She was already old, and when her anger was in her heart, she fought with Emily, who was only 18 years old. Her attacks were both vicious and vicious. Thus, under the wide-eyed gaze of everyone, the 2 crazy women, one old and one young, screamed and rolled at each other. You slapped me once, I kicked you once, you pulled my hair, I tore your clothes. Fighting back and forth, Megan was finally wearing her formal dress, which was very inconvenient, and was pushed to the ground by Emily, who was furious. Emily had been hit many times by her before, and her anger flared up. She spread her legs and sat on Megan, and hid her face with both hands. Winston Ashford was not home, and Vivian did not know where she had gone. Facing this chaotic situation, everyone was scared stiff, but no one called for security. The people here were all dignified ladies, so naturally no one would come out to stop the two people fighting. Young Theodore was even less interested in advising the two people he hated. The two of them were tearing at each other, until the servants around them gathered around, and with great difficulty, they separated these two crazy people. Megan's hair was completely messy, her false eyelashes were half off, her face powder had traces of hand scratches, her clothes were wrinkled and torn like a loofah, she had lost all dignity. Lily beside her just wanted to die, the fight just now had completely destroyed both of their dignity. She originally thought that this was the most embarrassing moment of her life, but no, Emily then pointed at her and her mother, vicious and spiteful, not caring about her image, and shouted loudly, "That Harper, just relying on you, you dare to hit me? Who do you think you are? Do you think that you came to the Ashford family and married my uncle that you have a high status? Don't you look at your despicable and worthless appearance, and your illegitimate child too." Emily's eyes were as sharp as knives, and she glared straight at Lily, like mother, like daughter. "Your mother stole my aunt's position, a woman who is already a grown woman but still clings to men. You bitch have such good genes, an illegitimate child like you still wants to be a phoenix? Are you addicted to the rich life for the past 18 years? Picking up lost things and showing off, if it's not yours, don't even dream of being a toad wanting to eat swan meat." Although Emily was young, she had been hanging out with bad friends since she was little, cursing both viciously and fiercely, and couldn't stop. Lily had never heard such vicious curses in her life. She was so dizzy from the curses, she was both ashamed and humiliated, unable to refute. Megan was so angry that her blood boiled. "For better or worse, I am your new aunt, do you have any respect? I spit." Emily was stubborn and unruly since she was a child. She spat on Megan. "My aunt is a noble lady with the surname Beaumont, not a lowly, frivolous, and dissolute person like you." Seraphina took a deep breath. Indeed, to deal with a slut, she couldn't use a normal weapon, but a high-damage weapon like Emily. Megan was so angry that she almost vomited blood. That brat had a foul mouth and cursed filthily. She had a headache and yelled loudly, "You are a..." "Emily, what's wrong with you today?" Lily was worried that her mother would say something vulgar that would ruin her image, so she quickly shed tears, crying pitifully, "Aren't we usually fine? Why are you suddenly scolding and cursing like this today? If I did something wrong, just say it directly, I'll fix it." This kind of patient and reasonable endurance made others feel heartbroken. Lily was so pitiful. Although she wasn't taught well by her mother, this child was quite good, it was just that her life was full of ups and downs. But who is Emily? She is the one who won the Oscar for Best Actress for pretending to be innocent in front of her brother. Can't she see Lily's little skills? Stop pretending. Emily pointed at Lily's face. "If you keep pretending, do you believe I will beat you to death?" Lily was filled with tears, almost grinding her teeth, but on the outside she couldn't show any anger, she could only continue to endure and pretend to be pitiful. Emily snorted, "Lily, you and your mother lived a good life with my uncle, and in the end, this is how you treat our relatives? That white-eyed wolf who repays kindness with ingratitude? That evil and sinister scorpion?" Lily's eyes were filled with tears. This time she wasn't pretending. She really didn't know where she had offended Emily. She slowly asked, "What are you talking about? I don't understand anything. If you keep pretending, I'll tear your face to pieces." If it weren't for a few servants stopping her, she would have pounced on her. "Lily, I really didn't expect you to be such a shameless scoundrel, helping outsiders. The Ashford family let you and your mother live here, and you actually harmed my brother like this, and harmed me like this?" She burst out laughing. "Humph, I know, you want to please the Lancaster family, you want to please Harrison Lancaster, but no matter how evil a person is, you can't harm your own relatives. What? You think that if you use me to call my brother back, and let him fall into Harrison's hands, Harrison will be seduced by you, and look at you more? Then he will like you, and let you into his house? Don't you look back and see who you are? You're no different from your mother, clinging to men like glue." Lily's face turned pale. Being scolded like this by Emily in front of everyone, today, she had lost all face. What she hated the most was that, upon hearing Emily say that, she immediately remembered that one time when she was out playing with William, she heard Hannah calling Alex in the bathroom. She didn't expect Hannah to be so sinister, wanting to please Harrison. She used her as a cushion. Of course, she didn't know that Harrison didn't find Alex thanks to a tip-off. Hannah called Alex just to deal with the Beaumont family. And the person who really provoked Emily was Serafina. Lily's face was red, half because she had been slapped twice, half because she was so humiliated. She only said one sentence, "I don't know what you're talking about." "What you said, I've never done it. I really can't stand it anymore." Mrs. Astor, who was sitting in the middle of the ladies, spoke with a face as heavy as lead, and the hall was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Serafina's mind was shocked. Mrs. Astor was the daughter of the Lancaster family, and later married into the Astor family. She was from a noble family, very elegant. Normally she smiled simply and was easy to approach, but if she was serious, no one dared to breathe loudly, so she had a lot of influence in this circle. Serafina thought to herself, she's not scolding Emily, is she? So the current situation must have had a turning point. Megan and Lily also thought so they immediately put on the extremely painful expressions of victims, sadly looking at Mrs. Astor, hoping that she would take charge. But Mrs. Astor's eyes were very deep, vaguely fixed on Lily's face. Lily couldn't help but shiver. Serafina also felt a great pressure. Only then did she know that the momentum that had been built up over the years, brats like them wouldn't dare to compare. Her tone was calm and discreet, but it was hundreds of times more offensive than Emily's insults and insults. "Mrs. Ashford, Miss Harper, I was invited here by Mr. Ashford. I didn't expect you to show me such a good play. Let me comment a few sentences. Miss Harper, although my Harrison is a boy and doesn't care about reputation like girls, he is still involved in business. If others say he relies on women for information, she's too arrogant." She looked at Lily coldly. "I don't care where this rumor came from, but the center of this matter is still you. I hope no one will think that you are flattering and climbing high. Of course, you are not my descendant. I have no right to interfere in your education. However, the object of your flattering and climbing high, it is best not to have anything to do with the Lancaster family and the Astor family." Lily's legs softened, swaying as if she was about to fall. After she finished speaking, she coldly looked at Megan. "Please tell Mr. Ashford, if the Ashford family has anything in the future, there is no need to send invitations to me anymore." After she finished speaking, she turned around and left. Megan staggered. She had not entered the upper class yet, but she was afraid she would not be able to enter any more. The group of other ladies saw that Mrs. Astor had left. They all took a quick look here and then dispersed as well. Serafina also pulled her younger brother and mother away, and when she left, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. It seems that the cousin Martin she chose is really effective. She had to return to the dormitory, so her mother took the family car home first. Before leaving, her mother had also held her and told her to definitely go home this weekend, and she had sighed several times. She knew that Lily's beating just now had made her mother miserable, so she didn't say anything. Her younger brother drove himself, so he was in charge of taking her back to school. On the way, his mood seemed to be very heavy. After all, seeing someone who had lived with him for 18 years being beaten and humiliated, anyone would feel very uncomfortable. She decided to let him digest his sadness, and she snuggled into the passenger seat, yawning while looking at the scenery outside the car window. While she was yawning for the 7th time, he couldn't hold it in any longer and frowned. "Are you really my sister? Just be moderate. Be careful not to yawn and tear your mouth." She chuckled, gently rubbed her blurry, watery eyes, and grumbled, "Hayes, I haven't been getting enough sleep lately, I'm so tired." He glanced at the mirror, saw that she seemed very tired, and said, "It's still a long time before school, you should sleep for a while." She pouted, nodded. Just as she adjusted to a more comfortable position and was about to close her eyes, she suddenly remembered something and immediately jumped up and scolded him. "Theodore, why did you do that?" He originally thought she was about to fall asleep, but unexpectedly she suddenly shouted like that. his hand holding the steering wheel almost jerked. He startled and retorted, "I'm driving." "Are you sick?" she yelled again, just now when Emily called bitch and rushed over. "Why did you cover for me?" He glared at her with hatred. His aggrieved expression was the type of not distinguishing between good and bad. Shouldn't she be grateful? He gritted his teeth. "No need to thank me." She slapped him on the head and shouted, "Why is it that when someone calls bitch, your first reaction is to think that the bitch is me?" He didn't know what to say anymore. Is there anyone in this world who was more wrong than him? He was so restless that he couldn't hold it in anymore. Just as he was about to turn around and yell back, he saw that she, who had been so full of life just a moment ago, had now turned her head and was sound asleep. After she arrived at school, she bought a new SIM card, cancelled her old number, and didn't have the energy to go out to eat with him anymore, so she went straight upstairs to sleep. She slept straight through until 9 o'clock in the evening. Her roommate still hadn't returned. After washing her hair and showering, she rummaged through her suitcase and realized she had forgotten to bring her hairdryer. At this moment, the phone in her room suddenly rang in the quiet dormitory. She was startled and went to pick up the phone. "Hello?" The other party paused for a moment, obviously not expecting that she would pick up the phone. The prepared lines like, "Sorry, I'm looking for Serafina," were stuck in his throat. After a moment of strange silence, she muttered to herself, "Isn't that a ghost calling?" She asked softly again, "Hello?" After a pause, the person's voice was very clear, "Can you come down?" Finally, the person added, "I'm downstairs in your dormitory." She was surprised. Harrison Lancaster?